Have you ever felt that nagging disconnect? You hear the news reporting that inflation is cooling, yet every trip to the grocery store, every bill, every rent payment seems to tell a different story. It feels like prices are still relentlessly climbing, leaving you wondering if you're missing something crucial. If this experience resonates with you, know that you are not alone, and your feelings are completely valid. Today, we're going to demystify this economic puzzle, providing clarity and understanding to a situation that often feels confusing and frustrating. It's a common scenario. Financial headlines proudly declare that inflation is easing or coming down. Experts discuss cooling price pressures and disinflationary trends. These terms sound promising, suggesting a return to more affordable times. However, for many of us, the reality on the ground paints a starkly different picture. When you check your bank balance or review your monthly expenses, the numbers don't seem to reflect this supposed improvement. Your grocery cart still costs more, your utility bills are higher, and finding affordable housing feels like an increasingly distant dream. This significant gap between what the data suggests and what you personally experience is a source of widespread confusion and genuine concern. This video aims to bridge that gap, offering you a clear and empathetic explanation. By the end, you'll grasp the fundamental difference between inflation and price levels, understand why prices can continue their upward trajectory even when inflation rates decline, and gain a validated perspective on your own financial experiences. You don't need a degree in economics to follow along. We'll break down complex ideas into simple, relatable concepts. Our goal is to empower you with knowledge, transforming confusion into clarity. Let's cut through the noise with one essential concept that will unlock much of this mystery. Inflation does not measure how high prices currently are. Instead, it measures the rate at which prices are increasing. Think of it like the speed of a car, not its location on the road. Imagine a car speeding down the highway at 100 miles per hour. If the driver then slows down to 50 miles per hour, the car is still moving forward. It hasn't stopped, nor has it started moving backward. It's simply moving forward at a slower pace. Similarly, when inflation falls, it means prices are still rising, just not as rapidly as they were before. This crucial distinction is often overlooked, yet it's key to understanding why your wallet still feels the pinch. This analogy helps us understand that a decrease in the inflation rate, often called disinflation, doesn't mean prices are going down. It simply means the pace of price increases has decelerated. The overall price level, which is the actual cost of goods and services, remains elevated from its previous point and continues to climb, albeit at a gentler slope. This fundamental concept is the first step in making sense of your daily financial observations. Let's bring this concept to life with a real-world example that many of us can relate to: your weekly grocery bill. Imagine that a year ago, your typical basket of groceries cost around $100. If inflation for that year was, say, 8%, that same basket would then cost you $108. This was a significant jump, and you likely felt it immediately. Now, fast forward to the current year. The headlines announce that inflation has fallen to 3%. This sounds like good news, right? However, it doesn't mean your $108 grocery bill is going back down. Instead, it means prices are still rising, but at a slower rate of 3% on top of the already elevated $108. So, your basket now costs approximately $111.24. Notice what happened there. Prices didn't reverse course. They didn't go back to $100. The new increases simply stacked on top of the previous ones. Each year's inflation adds to the cumulative price level, creating a persistent upward trend. This stacking effect is why your money buys less today than it did a few years ago, even if the rate of inflation has slowed. It's a continuous climb, not a temporary detour. This cumulative impact is often underestimated. Over several years, even moderate inflation rates can lead to substantial increases in the cost of living. For students managing tight budgets or consumers trying to stretch their paychecks, these stacked increases can feel overwhelming. It's not just a one-time hit, it's an ongoing erosion of purchasing power that compounds over time, making long-term financial planning more challenging. This is precisely where the frustration for many households intensifies. While prices for goods and services tend to adjust relatively quickly to economic changes, incomes, especially wages and salaries, typically adjust much more slowly. There's a significant lag between when the cost of living rises and when your paycheck might finally catch up. When the cost of everything from food to fuel to housing increases faster than your earnings, your purchasing power inevitably shrinks. Your hard-earned money still works, of course, but it simply doesn't stretch as far as it used to. This creates a tangible pressure on household budgets, forcing difficult choices and often leading to a feeling of financial insecurity. It's a common experience, and it's absolutely valid to feel the strain. This phenomenon is particularly challenging for individuals on fixed incomes, such as retirees, or for students juggling tuition and living expenses. Their ability to absorb these rising costs is often limited, making the impact of inflation even more pronounced. The feeling that you're running faster just to stay in the same place is a direct consequence of this income price lag, and it's a reality for millions of people trying to make ends meet in an evolving economic landscape. There's another critical factor that contributes to prices staying elevated, even when the broader economic environment cools down. This concept is known as price stickiness. Once businesses raise their prices to cover increased costs, they are often very reluctant to lower them again. Think about it from a business perspective. The costs that businesses face, like rent for their premises, wages for their employees, the price of raw materials, and transportation expenses, rarely decrease. In fact, many of these costs tend to be sticky upwards, meaning they go up but seldom come back down. Even if the rate of inflation slows, those higher operational costs remain embedded in their business model. To maintain profitability, businesses must keep their prices elevated to cover these ongoing expenses. This means that even if the pressure from rising input costs lessens, the prices you pay as a consumer are unlikely to revert to previous levels. Economists refer to this phenomenon as price stickiness, but its effect is easily recognizable in your daily life. It explains why, once the price of your favorite coffee or a service increases, it almost never goes back down, even if the economic winds shift. Businesses have little incentive to lower prices if their underlying costs remain high, and consumers have often adjusted to the new price point. A common and understandable assumption is that if inflation is falling, prices should start to decrease. However, as we've discussed, falling inflation, or disinflation, simply means that prices are increasing at a slower rate. It does not mean prices are actually going down. This distinction is crucial for managing our expectations and understanding economic news. Broad, sustained price declines across the economy are known as deflation. While it might sound appealing to consumers at first glance, deflation is actually quite rare and typically signals serious underlying economic problems. It can lead to reduced consumer spending as people delay purchases, hoping for even lower prices. This, in turn, can cause businesses to cut production, lay off workers, and further depress economic activity, creating a vicious cycle. Therefore, when inflation slows, the pace of price increases eases, but the higher price level established during periods of higher inflation generally remains. This understanding provides an important emotional release. It helps us reframe our expectations, moving away from the hope of prices returning to old levels and towards an acceptance of a new, higher price baseline. This isn't to say it's easy, but clarity can reduce unnecessary stress and help us adapt. Understanding this fundamental difference between inflation rates and actual price levels doesn't magically make higher prices disappear from your budget. However, it does provide a powerful framework for interpreting the economic news and making sense of your personal financial experiences. Once you grasp that inflation measures the speed of price increases rather than the direction of prices, headlines become far easier to decipher. This knowledge empowers you. It helps you recognize that your frustration isn't a misunderstanding of the data, but a valid response to a complex economic reality. It allows you to approach your financial planning with greater clarity, understanding that the current price levels are likely here to stay, and future increases will build upon them. This understanding can significantly reduce the unnecessary stress and confusion that often accompany economic uncertainty, allowing you to focus on practical strategies for managing your finances. Inflation often feels confusing because the language used to describe it doesn't always align with our everyday experiences. On this channel, our mission is to explain complex economic concepts clearly, empathetically, and without resorting to hype or panic. We believe that informed citizens are empowered citizens, capable of navigating their financial lives with greater confidence. We're committed to breaking down other parts of the economy in the same accessible way in future videos. Your insights are invaluable to us. What's one specific price increase you've personally noticed recently that has impacted your budget? Or what's another aspect of inflation or the economy that you find particularly confusing and would like us to explain more clearly? Share your thoughts and questions in the comments below. Your input helps us create content that truly addresses your concerns and helps our community grow together in understanding. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more clear economic explanations, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive.